On, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I want to say hello to everybody. I hope you guys are doing well. Today, we're going to talk about Diddy, aka Sean Combs. And I just read a really interesting article about I think the title was something like Diddy's Crumbling Empire. And I'm going to leave it up to you to decide if you think it's crumbling or not. But I noticed some things that really piqued my interest as a finance professor. And I thought that I would break some of this down for you. So get comfortable. Let me know if you can hear me. Buckle up your seatbelt. We're going to get started on drboycetv.com right now.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm, great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, triple 10. 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV. Here we are.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. I hope you guys are doing well today. Give me a yes in the chat if you can hear me okay. Let's do a quick audio sound check. Give me a quick yes. Let me know if I'm coming through all right. And also, I want to say good morning to everybody. Christina Littles, Leo Douglas, Tavane, good to see you. I am not going to be here long today because later on today, we are going to do financial consciousness training. I'm going to do a deep dive, 30 straight days, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. Eastern. We're going to break through my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, because I think that as a finance professor, the best thing I can offer you is an understanding of how economics works so that you can achieve whatever goal you want financially. Everybody type the word money in the chat if your goal is to make more money, be more financially secure, get to the point where you are going to elevate and rise up financially. And if you want to establish generational wealth, it's very easy to do. But then again, it probably just seems easy to me because I've been trained on finances. Michael Jordan is trained on basketball. So maybe things that seem easy to me are harder for everyone else, but I can make it easy for you. So if you'd like to join us this morning, I'll put a link in here. If you want to go sign up right now, we're actually going to meet later on this morning, and I'll put that link in the chat, and you guys can do with it as you wish. Now, someone says I triggered a lot of people on a tweet. Let's see. Oh, about allies. Oh, yeah. Well, my Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins and the number 1. And I like to challenge people on their thinking. And honestly, I saw that tweet. I saw a lot of people responded to it, but I don't even read. I mean, I read a couple of responses, and I noticed that I guess every now and then white people discover me, right? Every now and then, like I like being a Black America's best kept secret. Honestly, I don't really go out seeking mainstream attention. I'm not looking for validation from our oppressors. That's just not of interest to me. However, I tweeted something, and I think I tweeted something very simple. I think I said something like, if you are white and if you are a so-called ally, you need to support us on reparations. Why do you need to support us on reparations? Well, because your grandparents stole our shit. Your grandparents stole our shit, and because y'all stole our shit, y'all need to give us our shit back because our shit is still in your possession. You own this. Is that complicated? Give me a yes if you follow the logic here. Let me know if that makes sense to you. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Give me a yes if this makes sense. Your grandparents stole our stuff. It's well documented. I mean, we do Powernomics training. We study Dr. Claude Anderson books every Wednesday night in the Black Business School. You can join us. It's for free. Just go to blackkeystogreatness.com or just text the word stock to 87948. Text the word stock to 87948, and I'll send you information on how you can join us. And there is just an insane amount of evidence to show that whenever Black people accumulated wealth, they would just come and take it. They would falsely accuse you of a crime. Y'all don't know this, but they don't teach you this in school, but 100 years ago, in the South, in some parts of the South, it was illegal for a Black person to even look a white person in the eye. They could send you to jail for talking back to a white woman. They could send you to jail. I think they called it loose eyeballing. If you stared at a white woman for too long, they would lock you up, and then you'd have to go work for one of them. So they would take your stuff. That's it. That was the easiest way to take a Black man's stuff, is falsely accuse him of a crime. And next thing you know, he can't pay his taxes because he's in jail, and then they take the land. Well, I want to find out who took all of our stuff. right? And go get that land because it's been inherited, it's passed down. A lot of us don't think about these things, right? This is why I teach financial consciousness training every single morning, 7 days a week at 10 a.m. Eastern. If again, text the word stock to 87948, and I'll invite you in. Because the thing is, we're not financially conscious of the things that are happening around us sometimes. Sometimes they distract you. They distract you with the nonsense. They distract you with the social media gossip. They distract you with what's on TV. They distract you with that damn job that you've been slaving on for the last 20 years. That's what they distract you with. But if you're financially conscious, you'll understand, like, wait a minute, hold on, wait, that land did not disappear. That land that was stolen 80, 90, 100 years ago, that's still in somebody's family. We need to go get that shit back. So I just basically said on Twitter, my Twitter is Dr. Boyce Watkins 1, Dr. Boyce Watkins, the number one. If you want to join these conversations, I challenge people to think. And I said, if you are truly an ally, don't tell me Black Lives Matter. Don't come and tell me that you like hip hop music too. Don't tell me that you have a lot of black friends. I need you to run me my money. That's what I need you to run us our income, because America is not supposed to look the way it looks. It's not supposed to look like this, where you can go to most major cities in America and you will not find one single skyscraper worth over $100 million that's owned by a black person. All of it's owned by white people. Y'all stole a lot of that stuff. So give it back. That's it. Just give it back. And if you can't give it back, then you're not really an ally. You just give me lip service. All right, so let me hop back in. Let me hop into this conversation on Diddy and tell you guys why I decided to do this conversation, because we're actually doing our financial consciousness training starting at 10 a.m. Eastern. So that's a little more than an hour. So I'm actually going to be quick with you guys. But here's the deal. So I read this article this morning. I like to play VR golf. I put my Meta Quest 3 headset on, and I was going on the golf course, and I was listening. And I like to listen to financial news while I do that. So I was listening to this article, and the title of the article was something like the crumbling of Diddy's empire, or something like that, right? And clearly, when I saw the title, I said, okay, somebody has an agenda, right? You got to understand how media works. Media creates these narratives, right? Like, oh, Diddy's stumbling, Diddy's dead, Diddy's gone. I'm not saying he's not. I'm not saying he's not stumbling. I'm not saying he's not going to be gone. And I don't know Diddy personally. But I will say that the media tends to create narratives that don't always link to the truth, right? So they could be exaggerating. Maybe somebody wants to see him gone because it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, or maybe he really is struggling in this way. But there were some interesting tidbits in this article I wanted to cover, just from a wealth consciousness standpoint, so we can kind of understand some things, because some of these things were predictable from the jump. First thing I want to tell you is this. I had a conversation with a brother the other day, yesterday actually, who does multi-million-dollar deals. He does a lot of business acquisitions. I'd spoken with him at the Traffic Sales and Profit Conference hosted by Lamar Tyler that I just spoke at in Atlanta. And at this conference, there are all these black millionaires who are doing all these amazing things, running these black family-owned businesses. And they're really getting it done. These are the people that you should be learning from, other than business school professors who've never run a business. These are also people who are more interesting, in my view, than these flashy loudmouth rappers that they put on TV. They love to put the loudmouth Negroes on TV who are going to embarrass the community. Some guy with 8 babies mamas who is rapping about murdering black people, and they put them on TV because because white folks love that. They love to see us behaving like clowns. So anyway, I was talking to him, and I said to him, I said, I really always felt that hip hop culture does not mix with wealth building culture. Hip hop culture does not blend well with the culture of wealth builders and legacy builders, because hip hop is designed to be clownish and buffoonish. It's designed to be loud and outrageous. It's designed, Dr. Claude Anderson talks about the history of this. This is not the first generation where this has happened. He said, even over 100 years ago, they love to see a black man just be loud and stupid. And so if you look at a lot of hip hop artists, give me a yes if you notice this. Let me know if you're following me on this. But you'll see them. They won't have 1 or 2 tattoos. They'll have like 100, and they have tattoos all over their face, and they won't have one nice necklace on. They'll have like 50 gold chains on, right? And then they'll be walking around with a gun and a big old bag of money in the car, and it's some liquor and weed and some big booty chick in the back. Not one nice beautiful black woman, but like 5 or 6 girls with their booties out twerking and all this other chaotic stuff, right? Because they like that. They love to see you in the clown state. They love to see the black man in clown state. They love to see you loud and outrageous, because you are the clown. You'll never be the king in their mind, because you will always be the clown. You'll never be the king because you're trying to gain power within institutions that they control. So no man is ever going to invite another man into his house and make him the king. The best you'll be invited in for is for entertainment. So you are the court jester. There are three key areas where black men are allowed to be truly exceptionally successful in white society. Those tend to be when he's telling jokes as a comedian. That's why we take comedy so seriously. And you got comics beefing, with Cat Williams beefing with everybody else, going back and forth. It's a clown fight. It's a big clown fight. That's what it's a bunch of clowns saying who's the better clown, right? But we've made it into some kind of an art form. And I'm not saying comedians can't be brilliant in their own right. They are. But still, though, why is it that comedians and entertainers are at the top of our food chain in terms of leadership? The white community doesn't put comedians at the top of their leadership pile. Do you understand? Like the Jewish community, if I were to ask you, who are the most powerful, impactful people in the Jewish community in terms of defining policy and politics for that community, you're not going to name a comedian. Comedians have their place. You understand, right? And we don't get that, right? Because the most prominent men that we see tend to be either comedians, rappers, or athletes. That's what it is. Either you're busting raps and holding your nuts, walking around with 55,000 tattoos and 18 gold chains, rap, calling yourself the N-word in front of a crowd full of white people, or you are telling jokes, making people laugh, because that's what makes you safe. And that's why half these dudes have put on, not even half, 80% of them put on dresses in order to fit in, because a black man in a dress is never seen as a threat. So you big, strong, muscular black man will just put on a dress, or stick your booty out, and then I won't be as threatened by you. I won't be afraid of you, right? Nation of Islam men won't ever do that. That's why the Nation of Islam would be defined as one of the most dangerous organizations in America, even though they are probably the most equipped to provide security and stability for the black community. But y'all don't understand that because you watch too much white TV. And then the third area is athletes. The black man is allowed to succeed as an athlete because we are athletic specimens. We run fast, jump high. So Jerry Jones will pay us a bunch of money to go out in the Cowboys stadium, give each other brain damage in front of a crowd full of people, and that's just what the narrative is. So with Diddy fits right into that. Diddy is a smart guy, I'm sure, but unfortunately, he's a personification of to some extent of the clown show. He is a reflection of the false dream, one of the many false dreams that is fed to black people. The other false dream is the corporate plantation, where you're somehow led to falsely believe that working for white people your entire life is going to lead you to economic success, even though we know that it doesn't work. I mean, many of you are buried under student loan debt. A lot of you have a negative net worth. And think about this. This is crazy how you can work 30, 40 years and have a net worth that is lower than that of a newborn baby. How does that happen? Who did the rope-a-dope on you with that one? How did that? Oh, that's right. I had this thing called a PhD in finance, and I can tell you exactly what happened. You were trained to believe that you have to go to some big white university, give them $250,000 of your family wealth that you don't even have, sign your life away, and go so deep in debt that you have to serve the corporate plantation for the rest of your days, and you'll never actually come up for air. You'll never actually get to the point where you're above water. Now, this is nothing against going to college. I love going to college. All of our kids are going to go to college. This is nothing against student loans. Student loans can be a beneficial asset if you use it the right way. This is really to say that you let other people tell you what it means for you to be a successful black man or successful black woman in this country. You let other people define the narrative for you. You let other people tell you what you're supposed to do next. And so when they're like, oh, okay, Negro, well, first you go to a public school so we can make money off you in the public school. We won't give you good education. I just had a brother named Abdul Muhammad in the book club meeting last night. And he came in and talked about how Chicago public schools systematically fires all of its effective black male principals. If you are a black man in Chicago public schools and you are doing a good job educating black kids, they will do whatever they can to eliminate you because you're messing with their money and you also disrupting the apple cart. It's a very corrupt system. It's problematic. And my solution to a corrupt system is to lead the system. My solution is not to fight the system. My solution is not to try to get in there and make things better. I think you got to get out of the burning building. Like when with the Jewish community, when they were being guided into gas chambers, they didn't say, well, let's just make it better inside the gas chamber. Let's see if we can survive a little bit longer. No, they said, the smart one said, let's get out of here by any means necessary. So when you're in that chamber, and they're suffocating you like that, I believe the best solution is to get out of that. But the problem that you have is that you don't believe that you can do it. You don't believe that you have the skill set to do it. And in many cases, that's actually true. In many cases, we're not trained as children on the skill sets required to actually develop and build institutional infrastructure with our community. We're trained to work for white folks. So that's why I say that Black education from its fundamental root must be altered such that it is designed to create the most impactful, most effective Black people we can possibly create. That means that when I build a child, I'm going to build that child to start a business. I'm going to give that child skills and trades, not just college. I'm going to give that child a commitment and an understanding to the development of the Black community. Give me a yes if you agree. Let me know if you understand where I'm coming from. All right. So anyway, let me move on here. Let me move on. We're talking about Diddy, so I want to get to the Diddy thing. And if somebody wants to be an asshole in the chat, you can just type. He starts talking about Diddy at the 15:27 mark. So go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do somebody do that, because I know some people have short attention spans. I don't blame you. My mother always said that I had undiagnosed ADHD, but I personally believe it was my superpower. So I'm going to own it. But yeah, but you're talking to an ADHD guy where the ideas come to my brain a mile a minute, but I try to share them all because I think that those are gifts from God. All right, so hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. Also remember this: we are on Spotify. So if you want to go to Spotify or Apple, just look up Boyce Watkins. You'll find me there. Also, if you want to receive profit alerts or things like that from the Black Business School, just text the word stock to 87948. If you text stock, STOCK, to 87948, I will send you investment information and things that I'm invested in that will hopefully help you and your family to build wealth long term. All right, so here's what I picked up on this article, right? So this article is all about Diddy, and they're kind of crapping on him, really. They're really kind of painting this picture that Diddy's on his way down. Like he's this airplane that's been flying high for 20, 30 years, and now the plane is kind of descending and it might crash and burn. And so they talk about his relationship with that vodka company. I think it's called De Leon, or maybe De Leon was a brand of their vodka. And then Diddy had the Ciroc brand, and then they did something else. They had another type of brand. I don't drink liquor because I've seen I got too many alcoholics in my family. I think liquor is very harmful for Black men. I've seen a lot of men go down because of alcohol. And I believe that in a battle against white supremacy, you have to be alert. You have to be smart. So I'm not saying that you're stupid if you drink. I'm just saying I don't participate because I don't see any reason to. But I follow, I pay attention, right? And I respect it. It is what it is, right? So Diddy makes a partnership with these white guys in London who realize that he can actually get folks partying, lifting their glasses, because he's the loud, obnoxious rapper that is of interest to people that are in the club. So you go to the club, Diddy's in the club, Diddy's drinking this, and so everybody else, because we're trained to follow the crowd. Right, we're trained to like social proof or social influence is very big on our people in particular. So because Diddy's lifting his glass and he's drinking Ciroc, everybody else is lifting their glass to drink Ciroc too, right? Because a lot of people don't know who they are, so they just do what everyone else is doing. That's not me, but that's whatever it is. So anyway, so it's going really well. Right. So Diddy made a partnership with them, and it looked like it was, I think, 50-50 or something like that, going really well. Then Diddy actually gets them to help create a second brand or something. I don't know what it was called. And apparently they were upset because they felt that Diddy didn't put in any equity. He didn't put in any actual cash. But he came in with this brand value, right, which is obviously tremendous. And I think that particular brand was doing okay. But I think Diddy felt that the marketing wasn't high enough, that he wanted more support from the company. And the company was offended because they claimed in the article that Diddy was very disrespectful, that he'd say, hey, let's meet in California in my Beverly Hills mansion, and then he wouldn't be there, or he'd go sit in the pool for an hour before the meeting and make him wait outside. I have no idea. I think they even said that he brought a teddy bear to the meeting and said the teddy bear has to sit in on the meeting. Again, I don't know if all these weird things are true or not. Who knows? But I can tell you this. I've been in a space with artists at that level, and it's not fun. I do not enjoy it. I've been very public about the fact that I sat on the phone with Kanye West for 10, 12 hours because he heard about me. He heard about what we're doing here. That's the thing. I don't follow celebrities, but they follow us. They see what we're doing, and they become intrigued by it, and I respect that. But if you come into the church, you got to act right. If you come into this space, you got to show respect. We're not chasing you. We're not chasing mainstream. We understand better than getting on our knees and begging white folks for opportunities. So if you come in, you got to show where you can make a contribution. So our conversation just wasn't fun because it's unfortunately very difficult to sit on the phone with people who've been so gassed up by fame and money that they really think that they're bigger than God. They really think that they are so important that everyone should just bow to them and whatever, and that they can engage in any form of outrageous, immature, ridiculous, obnoxious behavior, and that that's okay. I'm gonna just tell you the truth. I don't care how big you get. That's not okay. It's not okay to act like a wild weirdo just because you have made some money, because these folks have propped you up, because a white man put you on TV. You really think you're better than everyone else. You certainly think you're better than black people. You think that black people should feel blessed. Pay attention now. Let me tell you, this is my honest experience. You feel like black people should be blessed or feel honored to be in the room with you. And I get it, because some people worship that nonsense. Why? Well, because we live in a society where we're trained to be white supremacists from the time we're born. We're trained to believe that any black person that a white person picks up and props up as a so-called leader or influencer or personality or whatever, that somehow we're supposed to just bow and honor this person. Like when Barack Obama got enough votes from white folks to run for president, I saw black people literally kneeling before him like he was Jesus. And I said, wow, ain't that slavery in a nutshell? That's some slave-like behavior. Because basically what that says to me is that if I control media, I create your heroes. Do you understand? Let me know if you follow what I'm saying. If I control media, then I can decide who you're going to follow and who you're not going to follow, who you're going to believe, who you're not going to believe, who you're going to look up to and who you're going to look down at. And I think that this is something that we have to be very conscious about, because this is how they control and manage your behavior. Think about how crazy it is that BET, owned by the Sumner Redstone family and Paramount, literally they do ads every year, and they tell you in the ad that this is the culture. The culture. They always talk about the culture, the culture, the culture. So you mean to tell me that Sumner Redstone's family gets to define what black culture is? Do y'all understand how dangerous that is? Do you understand how insulting that is? Let me know if you're following this. I mean, everybody doesn't get this. They think I'm just being a hater. I'm just being mean. No, I'm not being mean. I'm being honest. I'm letting you know what I see. So if we don't elevate our thinking and our consciousness, those of you that understand where I'm coming from, you're going to get played forever. You're going to get played forever. So Diddy, I don't know if Diddy engaged in any of this behavior that was alleged in the article, but I can see this. I can see rappers, white man puts you on TV. He gives you a little bit of money. You suddenly start to gain a God complex and think you're better than other black people and other people, period. So you engage in a lot of behavior that is very not just indecent in terms of disrespectful to other people, but also it's very anti-business. See, I was talking to my friend the other day, and he's made about $100 million doing deals, right? You'll never know you'll never know who he is. I'm not going to tell you his name because I don't want to blow up his spot, but he's done a lot of business and he makes real money. But he's not flashy. He's not running around here bragging about how much money he has. He's not going to the club, throwing money in the air. He's not doing all these clownish things that rappers are trained to do. He's just quietly going about building generational wealth, building legacy. He's a very solid guy. And I said, I don't think hip hop culture blends very well with wealth building culture, because wealth building culture requires conservatism, a certain element of conservatism. Wealth building culture is not flashy, because a truly wealthy person understands the dangers of being flashy with your money. Let me know if you notice this. Rappers are immature. I call it economic immaturity. In my book, it's called The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power. I make reference to something called economic immaturity. And what happens is that, culturally speaking, we glorify economic immaturity. Like, you go on Instagram, you'll see people say, some rapper will have a picture of his new Bugatti and or a bag full of money, and people say, "Oh man, whoa, that's lit, yo! Look at that!" Right? And it's like, no, that's economic immaturity. Because if you're truly wealthy, you're not going to be doing silly stuff like that. That makes you a target. So ultimately, when I see some of the fiascos that have occurred in terms of the wealth building space, where it's kind of been blended with hip hop, I think that's very dangerous. I think that this is one of those things you got to look out for, because when you blend the flashiness and the loudness and the extremist behavior of rappers with wealth building, it's a disaster waiting to happen, in the sense that that you have people that will do things that might be illegal or unethical or just messy and sloppy bad business while they're trying to build all this wealth. And it seems to work, because that's what you see on the covers of magazines, right? So with Diddy, assuming that some of what they were saying in this article is true in terms of how he conducted business meetings, it was kind of, in my view, a disaster waiting to happen, because they're kind of like, wait, we're all a bunch of mature businessmen and businesswomen getting together and having a meeting, and this guy is bringing a teddy bear to the meeting and peeing on the floor or whatever crazy thing it is. I'm not saying Diddy he didn't do that, but they were talking about some outrageous things he would do with the meetings. And you saw with Kanye blew a multi-billion-dollar deal with Adidas because he loves being that outrageous. Well, why? Well, because, as an artist, that's what made him famous, is like going around wearing this weird little ski mask and doing all this other crazy stuff and screaming and hollering and whatever. But that just doesn't work around mature people. In fact, I remember one time I was at an event and I was sitting with some guys that, again, these guys are heavy hitters in business, doing amazing stuff, millions of dollars, that type of stuff. And there was some guy that came up who was a famous rapper / podcaster. And he comes in, and because he is famous, he feels he invited to every meeting, every sit down, right? So he just sits down at the table and just starts running his mouth, nigga this, nigga that, blah, 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 cussing, screaming, hollering, just acting like a child. And me and the other black men there were just sitting there looking at each other like, who is this clown? Like, and I think that he felt that because he was famous as a rapper that we should care. That who he is like, no, I don't need your money. I don't care who you are. I don't respect you right now. You're a little boy. We're grown men sitting here having a grown man conversation, and you're coming in behaving like and this guy was in his 40s. He was like 47 years old. But because hip hop culture is designed by the people that with the capital, it's designed to keep the black man as a child. Let me know if you know what I'm saying. It's designed to keep black men behaving like children, because that's how they view you. They view you as little boys. They view you as kids. So that's why you have 40-something-year-old rappers who still run around here yelling and screaming, acting like they're 17 or 18. So with Diddy, this goes into my point with Diddy, and this is the trap that I feel like they put Diddy into, and then he put himself into, is that Diddy has what I call the Peter Pan complex. Has anybody noticed how Diddy for the last 30 years has pretty much looked the same, acted the same, carried himself the same? Has anybody else noticed that? Like Diddy, there's no difference. If you've been following Diddy as long as I've seen him and known of him, I knew, I'm about his age, so I remember him back in the mid 90s. There ain't much of a difference between the Diddy of 2024 and the Diddy of 1994. Has anybody noticed that? Like, so this poor guy's in a trap. This is what I believe. Like you talk about trap music, he needs to be making trap music, because this brother's in the trap. He's in the Peter Pan trap. Yeah, hip hop does not provide space for these men to really grow up. Jay-Z kind of pushed his way into growth, but even Jay-Z is 50-something years old, still trying to, be a great lyricist and a great rapper. And I'm wondering, like, when does that end? How does that evolve? I don't know. Maybe it's like jazz, right? Jazz used to be for teenagers, and it became just something for old people. So maybe hip hop will do the same thing. I have no idea. But a lot of times you'll see, even to some extent, Snoop Dogg's persona is very, very immature. It's not built for the types of men that you can really look up to as patriarchs of a family, society, or community. It's sort of these little childish little puppet characters that still try to have to behave as outrageously as they can in order to get attention. They're little attention seeking bitches, and they're all like 55, 60 years old now, and it's kind of looking weird and pathetic, right? And so ultimately, I think Diddy, to some extent, if there is a decline in Diddy's empire, it was kind of a long time coming, right? It was like, okay, yeah, if at some point something's got to break. At some point, you can't be Peter Pan forever. You can't look like you're 28 forever. You can't run around dancing and throwing your glass up and building your whole brand around that. And so that leads to another point that I was thinking. I was like, I wonder if Diddy saw this at all. I wonder if what Diddy's long-term plan was. If his plan was, I'm going to be a 28-year-old for the rest of my life and just make money for the rest of my life by being the cool guy at the party, the loud guy, getting everybody to put their glasses up. Because I think that there's a point where you're no longer the cool guy. You're no longer the cool 28, 29-year-old. You become the old guy. You become the OG. You become the elder, right? Did he expect that transition? And if he did, then that would lead to some sort of economic diversification to prepare for that stage of his life, right? Like, for example, Michael Jordan knew in his 20s and 30s that he could not play basketball forever. He couldn't make his money forever as the guy who could jump the highest and score the most points. Now Jordan is 60 and he makes his money as kind of the corporate brand. Like you don't see Jordan really walking around trying to impress anybody. In fact, Jordan, he unfortunately conducts himself a little bit like a prick. But still, though, at least he's a mature prick. Right? He's like I'm a 60-something-year-old man. I'm living my life. I'm running my company. That's what I'm doing. And he's probably diversified. And I wonder if Diddy's diversified. I don't know Diddy's finances to that extent, but to me, I'm wondering, like, okay, do you own some other stuff, some car dealerships, some property, some so maybe you're a silent investor in some other ventures that will allow you to diversify your income? Because from the way they presented it in this article, which again, this is just journalists talking. For all I know, they could have a vendetta against this guy. Um, they presented it as if Diddy was heavily leveraged by this vodka brand, that was his thing, that was his number one cash cow. He was getting like $30 per case that they sold or something, and they were selling millions of cases a year. So he was making, 50, 60, 70 million a year. And according to this article, it's almost like that's what kept him on that Forbes list. I don't know if that's the case, though, because I think a lot of times, these Forbes lists, they get it wrong. So I hope that's not the case. But anyway, before we move on, do me a favor, please hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. And as I mentioned earlier, we do Powernomics training every Wednesday night in the Black Business School. It's totally free. And so if you'd like to be invited to Powernomics training, text the word greatness to 87948. Text greatness to 87948, and I'll give you access to a training a life class I have called Black Keys to Greatness. I'll give you free access. It's totally free, and it's all about success and what it means to be successful, how to manage your time, how to set goals, how to overcome obstacles, pretty much all the things I use to get through my PhD program, which is really, really difficult. And I figured that there are some people that might be able to benefit from this. So text the word greatness to 87948, and I'll send you access to that for free. And I'll also invite you to our weekly training. It's really, really good. You're going to like it. All right. So let's get back. Let me drill in and finish up this conversation. I had a couple key points I want to make about Diddy and in economic lessons I think we can learn from kind of watching what's happening with him. I don't know what the future holds for him. I wish him the very best. I have no reason not to want to see him do well. I just thought about these things and I wanted to share them with you. I'm really thinking about you, not so much him. The other thing that came to mind was like this sort of dependence on white folks, right? It's very interesting to me when you have people that are presumed to be economic leaders in the Black community, but they are pretty much employees for white people, right? That's what they, when Diddy filed his lawsuit of discrimination against that vodka brand, I was kind of surprised by it because he was talking like he was he was talking like somebody who was discriminated against on their job. He sounded like a UPS worker who was mad because, another driver got more hours than he got. That's what it sounded like. He didn't sound like a mogul boss business owner. He sounded like a disgruntled employee. And I felt that same way when I saw poor Colin Kaepernick going through it. But Cap was only 20-something years old when he went through it. So that makes sense. When Diddy, as a 50-something-year-old man, is saying, hey, y'all, they discriminated against me, y'all. It's like, well, what are we supposed to do with that? Like, you're supposed to be the boss. You're supposed to be the king. You're supposed to be the leader. You're supposed to be the playmaker, right? And here's the deal, right? You have a lot of your entertainers. This is why you have to be careful about looking up the entertainers when it comes to economics, because a lot of entertainers are just high-paid puppets. That's what they are. They're high-paid employees. And they present this persona of being the boss when they're not really the boss. The real boss is saying, here, go out here and tell everybody you're the boss, right? A lot of times the real boss don't even want you to know he's the boss. Seriously, the real boss is like, look, I don't want anybody to even know I exist. That's what real bosses do. When somebody's running around constantly telling you that they're the boss, chances are they're not the boss. They're just the loud person. So anyway, with Diddy, I remember just thinking, I don't really know what people are supposed to do with your little situation with this vodka company, because you made that deal with the devil. You signed that contract. You've been working with them. It's not as if, and then there's that next step of using the Black community. And, celebrities do this all the time, using the Black community to get leverage against your white business partner when you haven't really stepped up for the Black community in a significant way. Diddy has made a lot of promises. Diddy is kind of a glorified version of what Umar Johnson was when he was building that school. Umar, y'all seen this, where Umar's been talking about building that school for 12 years. Ain't no school built. Last time I checked, I don't see a school anywhere. And I know a lot of people make excuses for him because he's a great speaker, right? He's a great speaker, smart guy, but he ain't built shit. I mean, maybe one day he'll build something, but he's been talking about building. And I think this also is something that you have to address in your culture. You have a lot of shit talking men on big platforms, and you look up to them because they sound good. You look up to them and give them the respect that you would give a person who actually completes the things that he says he's going to do. And this comes from hip hop culture. Hip hop culture breeds the loudmouth Negro who talks a lot of shit about what he gonna do, he about to do, he ready to do, and all this other stuff. And we fall into it because we always looking for love in all the wrong places. Like we get starry eyed and excited, like, ooh, it's gonna be great, it's gonna be so lit. Diddy gonna buy the Ravens, y'all. He gonna right, and then we get all excited about it and we give them credit as if they've actually done it. And then you like, well, where's the follow-up? And there is no follow-up. It never gets done. And so ultimately this translates down to the very lowest base levels. I had a honest conversation the other day, and I'm gonna have this conversation. We got to have this. I had a conversation the other day with a Black woman who is in her 80s who said how disappointed she is that whenever she needs to hire somebody to do something around the house, she said, I'm scared to hire a Black man because the last 2 Black men I hired told me they were coming to my house to fix the whatever, to chop down the tree or to cut the grass, and did not show up. She said, well, the last guy I hired, I paid him the money. He said he was coming at 12. And she said, and this motherfucker did not show up. He did not call. He did not, he told me he was coming. He called that morning to tell me he was coming and then just didn't show up. I haven't heard from him since. And I said, that's highly unacceptable. That's highly unacceptable. Give me a yes if you've seen this. Give me a yes if you've seen the guy who will talk all day about what he gonna do and what he about to do and what he's gonna and doesn't do anything. There's a lot of yapping, a lot of talking, right? And Diddy reminds me of that. And I hate saying it, and it makes me feel bad because I don't have anything against the guy. But how many times has Diddy got online and they talked about this? This is the thing. Talking shit and not following through eventually catches up to you. Because in this article, they talk specifically, it's called something like Diddy's Crumbling Empire, right? They talk specifically about all the times that he used hype to get credit for things that he never actually completed. He comes, Sean John's making a comeback, y'all. It's gonna be the most iconic brand ever, y'all. Are we about to create a super group? It's gonna be the biggest group ever, y'all. It's gonna be a legendary world change, blah 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 blah. Like it's like a circus. It's like Barnum and Bailey circus. That's what it is. It's a circus because a lot of the rappers are clowns. They just are. Malcolm X called a lot of entertainers clowns too. And I get it, right? Because there's money in being a clown. If you're Black, if you're loud and obnoxious and screaming and hollering about how this extravaganza that's never going to occur, white folks will pay you all day to do that. That's what happens. But it's very disappointing because it leads to people not respecting you. Your daughter can't look up to you because she's like, yeah, my daddy always be telling me he gonna do something, but he don't never do it. Or people in your family, they're expecting you to deliver on the things. And this is why I tell Black men, when Black men ask me advice on manhood, I say the number one thing you need to understand as a man, and I hope you'll tell your sons this, is that when you say you're going to do something, either do it or be very communicative about the timeline of when it's going to get done and why it did not get done at the time and in the manner by which you promised. Keep your damn promises. Follow through. That makes you sturdy. That makes you solid. It don't make no damn sense that most of y'all, how many of y'all have noticed this? It makes no sense that most of y'all, if you want to get your roof fixed or your basement done or your house painted, you have a very hard time finding Black contractors that you can bring in that are going to be reliable, that are going to get the job done. But I bet you can find a pack of Mexicans that'll be up in your fucking house by 2:00 this afternoon and get the shit done by Thursday. And it sucks. It's embarrassing. It's crazy. So I would say to you that Diddy, and I'll tell you this, my only personal experience with Diddy is when I talked to Dr. Claude Anderson about Diddy. Diddy called him because, again, Powernomics is such a powerful book. A lot of the rappers, when they hear about it, they become interested in it. Ice Cube, I talked to Ice Cube a lot because he loves Powernomics. I talked to Charlemagne the God about Powernomics. Charlemagne showed a lot of respect to Powernomics. Whatever, Tiffany Haddish, Kanye West, that's why one of the first reasons he reached out was because of Powernomics. Diddy was another one that reached out. And one thing that Dr. Anderson and I talked about, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this part, is that he says to me, you and Ice Cube are the only two people who actually wrote a check and supported what we were doing. I said, wait a minute, you mean all these celebrities that have been calling you, they're not financially supporting the institute or what the work that you're doing? And he said, no, they just call and they talk. And that's what he said. He said, I said, what about Diddy? What did Diddy? He said, yeah, he said he was going to do a lot of stuff, but it never really happened. So I would just say to you that I think that we have to challenge this culture. Again, none of us is perfect. Sometimes things happen. There ain't never been a perfect person on my platform. So don't ever think that I'm speaking from a position of perfection or like am a know-it-all or whatever. I'm telling you what I observe and I'm giving you something to think about. Okay, so let me move on. Hit the thumbs up button, thumbs up, share, subscribe. By the way, we are going to start financial consciousness training at 10 a.m. Eastern this morning. We're going to go through my book, The 10 Commandments of Black Economic Power, 7 days a week, 10 a.m. every single morning. The materials are yours for life. I just put the link in the chat. If you want to join, next 100 people actually gets 90% off the training. So feel free to hop in. After that, we're going to close it up. And so feel free to click the link. If you see that, let me know if you see the link in there. I just put it in there. So click on it and give me a yes if it works, or give me a no if you can't, if the link does not work for you. If you're on TikTok, I'm sorry, I can't put the link in TikTok. But if you text the word stock to 87948, I can send you some information on how you can join this later on if you'd like to. All right. So the couple more things here. So in this article about Diddy, asking whether his empire is crumbling, I don't pretend to know what exactly is going on with his personal finances, so I'm not going to really speak on that. I'm going to say a couple other things that I noticed besides the Peter Pan effect, where I kind of felt like at some point Diddy was no longer going to be the cool guy. Now he's the creepy old man. That's a natural transition, right? Because now with hip hop, you have a thing where I always kind of felt like chickens would come home to roost in hip hop, right? I felt that with hip hop here's the thing. Malcolm X used to say that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then lock you up for being drunk. So what I believe happens where rappers get the rope-a-dope is they get paid all this money to be as outrageous as they want to be. They get pushed to be, like be a bigger clown, get more gold chains, get more tattoos, get 8 more babies mamas. Just really, really show us the stereotype that we're paying you to portray. And then what happens is later on they come back and they say, we didn't tell them to do all that. Right. And then next thing you know, you're dealing with stuff that Diddy's dealing with, where there are these allegations against him that are just on another level, like just where regular people cannot understand what the people are like, what the fuck? Like, you did what? You had cats, male prostitutes, and you got off to that? Like, what has to, like, there's weird stuff that happens. Tell me if you felt that Hollywood is so weird that when black folks get accepted in that space, it's like they become like aliens, right? Anybody feel that way? Like, it's like, what you did? Huh? What? We regular people can't even relate to that story, bro. Like, there's nothing about this that's normal at all, and it's kind of like this idea that they push to you to say, oh, you're safe with us. Here's millions of dollars. You can have whatever you want, and it becomes a deal with the devil, because eventually the devil comes back and extracts a payment that you cannot pay. He takes things from you that are more valuable than money. And I think that with Diddy, that's what I'm seeing. And I think this is going to happen all throughout hip hop. If you knew the stories I knew, you wouldn't be surprised by any of this. And then also, if you think about even the lyrical content, like I think that with artists, they're encouraged to kind of push the limits, right? And I remember hearing a song with Snoop Dogg, and eventually Snoop. I think once they decide that Snoop Dogg is no longer the jolly Negro that they love, like Snoop Claus and the guy that's like this friendly, lovable cartoon character they made him into, I think that once they let that go, Snoop is going to actually get hit pretty hard with some allegations, because a lot of people don't remember this, but he was accused of some pretty terrible things a few years ago, and it just kind of got pushed out of the media. And that's kind of what happened with Bill Cosby for a long time. Every now and then there'd be like a little bit of a flare up, and then they would just cover it up with something else. They'd say, oh, well, Bill Cosby just bought something, or he's announcing a new movie or whatever. And then it would go away. And then eventually it started to stick. I think the same thing has happened with Snoop. I'm not wishing this on him, but if you go back and you research, if you just type in Snoop Dogg allegations or whatever, you'll see some stuff in there in terms of lawsuits or whatever. So I would imagine he's probably kind of nervous because if you remember, over 20 years ago, this is a long time ago, but I remember Snoop's whole brand was built basically on disrespecting women. His most famous line was, "We don't love them hoes," and that began the trend of hip hop artists disrespecting women, particularly black women, in a way that is highly dysfunctional, problematic, and really borderline embarrassing, right? Because black men are the only men on the planet who are portrayed globally as men who really truly hate their women. And I think that that's a problem, because your mother is a black woman. How can you hate your mother, right? And so anyway, with Snoop, if you remember, in 1999, he came to an award show with two women that were on a leash, and next to him was a pimp, Bishop Magic Don Juan. Go look it up. And the women came; they had dog leashes, dog collars, because he's Snoop Dogg, right? The D-O-double-G, and because he's a dog, he had his bitches on a leash, right? And that was seen as cool in the 1990s, but it's not going to be seen so cool in the 2020s, especially when he goes from being the cool young guy to being the creepy old man, right? So again, I'm not wishing this on him at all. I'm saying that this is what hip hop is kind of dealing with, and I would almost say that it really kind of speaks to this fundamental idea of, as black people, I don't think we can really trust anybody like that. I really think that you have to be, when they tell you to let your hair down and let your guard down and get comfortable. I say, no, I'm not letting my hair down. I ain't even got no hair, so I'm not letting nothing down, because I know what you do. I know that you will lull a black man to sleep, and then you'll kill him while he's napping, right? They'll lull you to sleep, and they'll cut your throat while you're taking a nap. And I think that for us as black folks, as we sitting around dreaming about becoming celebrities and all this other stuff, that's the wrong dream. That's the wrong dream. The two dreams that are sold to you that are false dreams are: one, the celebrity dream. You see a lot of celebrities now, like Terrence Howard. He's suing because he feels like he was mistreated all those years, and Taraji P. Henson's complaining about not getting paid enough. And then you have all these other artists or whatever talking about how they got screwed. So in the entertainment dream is a terrible dream. Don't send your kids to Hollywood, because Hollywood's a horrible, weird place, and it's built on slavery. And then also, the other dream that's the wrong dream is the dream of the corporate plantation. You dream of getting the nice job, and you have the dream job. There's no such thing as a dream job. I told my youngest, I said, I don't care about a dream job. Nobody dreams about going to work. Who the hell dreams about labor? Labor is not a dream. No, I want you to have a real dream. A real dream is happiness. A real dream is fulfillment. A real dream is finding yourself and finding your passion and your purpose. A real dream is waking up happy and feeling good every day, right? Ain't nobody I know happy going to work, working for people who hate their guts. That's not fun, right? Waking up 6 a.m. to go to a job that depresses the shit out of you. What the hell kind of dream is that? So who the hell even came up with the term dream job? It was probably one of the Rockefellers or something that was trying to get people to buy into capitalism so that they could have more workers or something. But ain't no dream job. Even with feminism, right? Feminism not. I mean, I think equal rights is fine, of course, and some feminism is necessary, because men have treated women pretty horribly through the decades or through the centuries. But Lord Jesus, whoever tricked women into believing that it's more enjoyable to be at a job than it is to take care of your kids, that was a hell of a rope a dope. That was a hell of a trick. So now, to prove your womanhood and to prove your independence, you're gonna go torture yourself at a job that you hate instead of spending time with the children you love. And next thing you know, you're working your butt off, working yourself to the bone at this job. You come home, little Pookie done started selling drugs. Your daughter's pregnant because you ain't spending no time with her because you're off serving the corporate plantation. What kind of dream is that? So I'm not telling you what your dream should be. This is the point. I'm not here to tell you what dream you should have. All I'm here to tell you is this: you must pick your own dream. You must pick your own dream. And in order to pick your own dream, you have to educate yourself on all the options that could be available to you if you can broaden your perspective. So this is where I can support you as an educator, because I'm not just, I don't just have the education, but I also have, I'm 52, right? So I've seen some things. So being exposed to different ideas can allow you to pick the dream that's going to work for you. Give me a guess if you follow, right? I'm not here to tell you what to do. The only thing I'm telling you to do is back out of what was fed to you, and feed yourself. Feed yourself properly. Give yourself health food, because society does not feed you dreams that are proper and appropriate for where you want to be in life. And the other dream that black boys get, that's the worst dream ever, is this whole fucking sports dream, like we're all gonna go be the next LeBron, and you're literally 5'9" thinking you're gonna be LeBron James. Who the hell? How delusional do you have to be under 6 feet tall, really thinking you're gonna make your money in the NBA or the NFL? But there are literally millions of black boys who will risk it all, bet it all on this NBA NFL dream, and don't even have the talent to do that. And then what happens is that when they bet it all and they throw away all the other options just to pursue this one narrow little dream, this impossible little dream, then you have this massive wasteland of like all these wasted men who are sitting around 30 years old on the corner with a liquor bottle, reminiscing over how great they were in high school at sports. Let me know if you've seen somebody like that. It just literally because you have not defined your self-worth as anything other than that of an athlete. See, the white supremacy gave you your identity. They told you, Negro, you are the athlete. So when you couldn't play sports and make money playing sports, you felt like you had no value at that point. But really, what was supposed to really happen, if I was talking to you since you were a kid, I would have said, no, your real worth is that of a husband, that of a father, that of a leader in your community, that of a protector of the women and children in your space. That's your value. You have value as a human being that goes far beyond whatever the hell you did putting on a little child's uniform playing a damn sport. Now, think about this. We will look up to grown-ass men wearing a basketball uniform. You're 35 years old wearing a basketball uniform like a 9-year-old, and we will consider that person to be some sort of hero to the black community because, well, why? Well, because someone's paying them money to do it. Right. But if you take away the money and you take away the fame, you're a grown man wearing a child's uniform. You never grew up, And so I'm not saying this is true for all the athletes. I'm not here to disrespect them or make it sound that way, because a lot of the athletes do understand what I'm saying. But what I am saying to you is that you got to stop letting other people shape your narrative. There's so many other things you can do for the world and for your community that go beyond simply playing a damn sport or going to work every day or busting raps or telling jokes, or all these other silly little things they feed us as kids. To me, the most valuable role I've ever played in my life is that of a husband, father, and leader in my community. The fact that I can say that I have thousands of young black people whose ideas and perspectives and self-esteem has been influenced by my presence, that is the most impactful role I could ever have. There's no role that a white man ever gave me that exceeds the role that I play in this space. In terms of value, there's no role, there's no job, working at, being on the faculty at Syracuse or being on TV. I've been on TV hundreds of times, national TV hundreds of times. That don't mean shit. It really doesn't. What matters is what I'm doing for the people that I care about, right? And the fact that I can show up as an adequate son, husband, and father. That's what defines my value for the most part, in my view. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And I want you to think for a minute before we finish up. I'm going to shut it down now. I want you to think about how many men out here that are absolute worthless pieces of shit who haven't reached their full potential, don't have any motivation, ain't good for nobody, just out here harming people, terrorizing people, disappointing people. I want you to think about how many men you know who you've seen like that. And I say this specifically, and it sounds harsh when I say it, and I probably have a bias in this way because my daddy, my biological father, unfortunately fit in this category. And I want you to think about how many of these men could be wonderful assets to the people around them if they've been trained properly from birth. I mean, think about what they could have been. Think about a lot of these guys that refuse to commit to anything, refuse to take responsibility for anything, even in their 40s and 50s, they could have been great husbands and great fathers. They could have been men that were protecting their daughters. They could have been men that their women could depend on. They could have been men that were cleaning up their community, protecting their block. But instead, they become wasted. And this is an artifact of white supremacy. If you reverse engineer how America builds its niggas, if you reverse engineer that process, you'll understand how white supremacy, in terms of how he was educated. I mean, you go look at what happened to him in the public school system. Look at the media he was exposed to. Look at the peer pressure he was introduced to from other men. Then you'll understand why he thinks that way. And I personally think that this is a multi-trillion-dollar asset that the black community has lost. And this is the thing. This is where I dig into my superpower. I can see the wealth in areas where it looks like money's not even involved, where it looks like there's no wealth at all. No, when you lose your people, you're losing wealth. When you lose that young man to drugs because he was imitating his favorite rapper, you're losing wealth. When you lose that young woman because she want to be the next Cardi B, you're losing, instead of being a great mother and a great woman, right? You're losing wealth. Human capital, human beings are a form of wealth. That's why you were sold into slavery, because you were worth a lot of money to them. So stop doing it. Assess these things. So anyway, I'm going to stop talking. I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or anything like that. I probably already am way past that by now. And I don't wish Diddy any harm, by the way. I thought the Diddy story was interesting. That's what led me to talk about it. And so anyway, if you want to join us for financial consciousness training, we're going to actually start this morning. I'm going to put the link in here one more time. And if you also want to get free profit alerts on stocks that I like, things like that, you can text the word stock to 87948, text stock to 87948, and I'll send you some good stuff. And my website's boycewatkins.com. This podcast is on Spotify. So thank you guys for listening. God bless you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Take care. Peace.
Here we are, clan the isms, cataclysm great. Our people out here struggling, trying to make it in this state. Everybody out here doing it, but we the ones who late. Now family, we the ones who gotta delegate. Get that money in the power, never be fake. Stick to cosign for 3. What did he say? Create jobs, support our own. Educate the same and buy back your home. Got 3 degrees, 10, 3 PhDs, now we on the CNN. DBTV, let's talk about negligence. Ignorance is bliss, but we can turn it to intelligence. Believe none of what you hear, half of what you see. Let's break it down here on Dr. Boyce TV.